Welcome to the war, Helldiver. You finished training, earned your cape and destroyer, and have been thrown into the galaxy to spread freedom and democracy upon the enemies of Super Earth. As you open your galaxy map, you'll be facing a wealth of decisions to make. Where do I go? Who do I fight? How do I fight them? Different worlds with different biomes. Enemy sub-factions like the Predator Strain and the Incineration Core. All of these things may have one feeling understandably overwhelmed. So here is a guide put together by the veterans of the war and sent to you so that your decision making becomes a little more clear in your fight to spread managed democracy. There are, as of writing, 3 major enemy factions and 3 minor sub-factions between them. Automatons, who have the Jet Brigade and Incineration Core, Terminids, who have the Predator Strain, and the Illuminate, who for now have no extra sub-factions. Discussing these sub-factions will come later, let's keep it simple for now. As a new player, it is highly recommended you do not engage with these sub-factions as they are designed to be difficult challenges for veteran players, and you will not have the necessary gear to deal with them for quite a while. Each faction offers unique challenges and difficulties, and there is no easiest or hardest group to fight for the base armies, sort of. Especially as one player will have different experiences from others. As for deciding where to go, the safest option is to follow the demands of the major order, but do not feel beholden to it. As a new player, take time to unravel your first few hours however and wherever you want. There are typically a dozen worlds or so open at any time to go and use as your training ground. Find the biome that interests you, check its modifiers, and go. First up, the Automatons, also known as the bots. Automatons are the military-style faction of the game. Trench lines, fortifications, bases and outposts, combined arms warfare. Bots shoot back. As an enemy faction, their makeup consists of fewer enemies that are harder to bring down. Infantry supported by heavier infantry and armor. Combat will be tense, loud, and scenic. Explosions, tracers, and rockets spraying across the skies and fields.
Reloading!
You'll be assaulting fortified fighting positions.
That's called democracy!
Terrain will matter the most in combat against the bots more than any other faction, as you will need to consider cover against their ground, air, and long-range support. When you're in contact with them, they will reinforce a position to brute force you away, hoping that overwhelming firepower will be enough. Keep an eye out for when one of the random fodder bots goes into this pose. You'll want to shoot them immediately as they are preparing to fire a flare to call in these reinforcements. This combat style is what keeps combat with the bots fairly straightforward. They will rarely attempt tactics such as flanking or pinching, so you always know where they are and what the threat is. So if you want to experience all-out warfare against soulless machines like Clone Wars but rated M or Peggy 18 for you European folks, while clearing out maps and feeling like you're progressing through a game of Battlefield, this is the faction for you. The bots as a faction are born from an unknown source in the lore, but highly suspected to be from the cyborgs of the first game. These walking scrap piles have a lot of terrifying theories around them, most notably about how they are likely built using human brains, as you will see piled in cages of dead, headless humans around the maps when playing against them. We attack the bots in the lore for their scrap metal and for their oil, which is what they bleed, to give us raw materials for weapons, ammo, and other war machine creations. However, the oil here is not used traditionally as we know it in real life. We'll come back to that. And now we move to the second and most popular faction of the game, the Terminids, also known as the Bugs. There's a fairly good chance that you have seen Starship Troopers if you're playing this game, and in your late 20s at least. If you haven't, be sure to do that. Nasty creatures that they are, the Bugs are one of the true horde armies of the game, as expected. Emerging from the ground through bug holes and giant nests of breaches, they will swarm you with immense numbers of various critters. Don't mistake their squishy nature for them being an easy opponent, however. The Bugs are menacing and relentless, with plenty of units that will shrug off whatever you're firing at it. There are no front lines with them. There are no avenues of contact to funnel them down. They spawn behind you and around you far more aggressively and far more often than bots will, constantly pushing you around if you are not quick to repel and maintain, as they even have an enemy that punishes you for trying to run away.
Eagle, back in the fight.
Firing orbital barrage, clear the area.
Where the bots prioritize range with some supporting melee, Bugs are sort of the inverse. Every unit of the Bugs will close the gap to rip you apart and devour the remains, but a few have a short-range ability to spew acid at you, ranging from a little spitball that will stun you with some light damage, to a nearly instant-killing acid eruption. And the Bugs' only long-range attack are the Bile-Spewer's mortar-esque expulsions. The method here, obviously, is crowd control. Volumes of gunfire and actual fire. You will go far with incendiary weapons, napalm strikes, and machine guns for mowing down the hordes. You are at the mercy of the Bugs more than the bots in a few ways. For example, when a Bug calls in its reinforcements, you cannot stop the Bug breaching with well-placed ordnance or a lucky shot like you can with the bots. They are spawning until it stops. The caveat is that you can drop some damage over time attacks such as the Orbital Gatling Barrage and farm the kills. And while only some of the smaller bots can call in reinforcements, most units of the Bugs are capable of calling in their own reinforcements. The Bugs are not to be underestimated as a lethal force. Their numbers and variance make them a very punishing enemy. If you enjoy endless chaos, cutting down droves of squishy enemies and feeling like the world's most dangerous exterminator, Bugs are going to be a lot of fun for you. Earlier, it was mentioned that we don't use the bots' oil for the same purpose as we understand oil today. This is where the Bugs come in. Lore-wise, they are an evolution of the Bugs from the first Helldivers game and setting, purposefully farmed by Super Earth for their Element 710 or E710. This seemingly magical sci-fi juice is what is used for Super Earth warships and various other MacGuffins that we use, such as powering our FTL drives. This oil that the Bugs literally dissolve into keeps the Super Earth war machine rolling. And now we come to the third and final faction of the game, the Illuminate, also known as the Squids. The most recent addition to the game, and likely the hardest one to discuss without diving into a wildly complicated chain of points, the Squids are in a weirdly unique place and still very much a work in progress. As such, the information that follows may quickly become out of date. As of this writing, these blue-blooded freaks are a combination of the bugs with hordes of squishy fodder backed by a few harder-to-kill support units, and the bots with scary armor and air support that will ruin your day fast. It is hard to recommend fighting the Illuminate as your first army or even at all until you progress your unlocks and weapons and stratagems, as well as increase your overall skill in the game to avoid unnecessary frustration. This is the closest the game comes to having a zombie mode, as the overwhelming bulk of the Illuminate forces are the voteless, mindless drones of humans turned into fodder with unknown alien technology. Backing them up are several variants of alien overseers, enemies that are heavily armored but able to be killed with light armor penetration, unlike any other faction in the game that usually requires medium armor penetration at the least. Supporting these hordes are the horrors such as Flesh Mobs, the spongiest damaged sponge that ever did soak up attacks, the Harvester of War of the Worlds fame.
No, not that one.
The Stingray. And the Leviathan. Much like the bugs, combat against the Illuminate can very quickly get out of hand and force you into a retreat. You will spend a lot of time committing to hit and run tactics.
Here comes the cavalry.
One of the benefits of fighting the Illuminate is how they only have a single unit capable of calling in their reinforcements, this guy. As you can probably see, it is quite easy to tell where they are due to their nature of being slow-flying units with a bright spotlight that makes a very signature noise when they are about to call in their reinforcements. Loadouts when fighting the Illuminate will typically boil down to an A/B system, deciding on if your primary or support weapon will be the intended crowd control or concentrated power weapon. Coordination with your team on loadouts will get you very far in your fight with the squids. Unfortunately, there are no one or two surefire weapon combinations that covers every situation and encounter, which leads to most, if not all, loadouts possibly feeling underwhelming, even when it's a good one. Getting into the nature of the squids is difficult to discuss and will require several videos to properly dissect. And honestly, this is a big part of the enjoyment you will get from fighting the Illuminate. It's difficult to specify a playstyle preference for the Illuminate. It's hard to say if you like X or Y, you'll fight these guys like I could with the bugs and the bots, especially because they're still a work in progress. You'll fight them because you want to get variation, because you want to try something new to keep yourself balanced in combat, capable of fighting whatever threat you're pitted against, experimenting to find the loadouts that you think work best and that feel the best when taking these guys on. And maybe there's a chance that you'll just like their weirdly unspecified design and yet very specific niche that they fill in the game. For the lore, the Illuminate were a huge alien civilization that made contact with Earth with a peace treaty in hopes of cooperation before the events of the First Galactic War. Super Earth dubbed this to be a Trojan horse tactic, proclaiming that the Illuminate had hidden WMDs capable of annihilating entire planets and planned to use such a weapon against Earth. After 40 years of war, Super Earth managed to quell every Illuminate world of their presence and forced the very few survivors of the homeworld to sign a new treaty, banishing them from the galaxy. 100 years later, they have mysteriously reappeared with an obvious vengeance, and this is all we know. We don't know where they got the numbers, where they hid, or how they returned. We fight them now for survival and sheer dominance. No matter what faction you choose to fight, you will find a playstyle. You will find what works and doesn't work for you so you can have the fun that you seek. Your contributions to this grand war do matter, as it is what we all put in together that makes the difference. No one Helldiver will be the defining hero of the war. Assist your fellow Helldivers wherever you go. We are all here for each other in and out of the game that we have come to love so much. One last thing to keep in mind, Helldiver. Avoid the pointless debate of bug diver versus bot diver versus squid diver. A certain few in the community would have you believe that the efforts of one nullifies the efforts of another. This is not the case. This is an easy pitfall to get pulled into, but it is not what the community at large is about or wants to see form. Every Helldiver does their part for the war in their own way. And above all else, this is just a game, and games are meant to be fun. So go, find your fun. The game is big enough that you will find others on the way. This has been Ultimatum 1895 of the Sovereign of Midnight with the Freedom Alliance. Welcome to the war, Helldiver. Welcome to Hell.